You know, the other day I watched a video where some commenter received a question from a young lady, and she was asking him, why do men prefer to play video games rather than like go out and talk to women and try to date them? And it kind of struck me as very interesting at the fact that like the most obvious thing in the history of obvious is like a profound question that a young lady needs to ask someone in order to try to gain an understanding about it. If you really stop and think about it for all of, I don't know, maybe 3 minutes, you'll find that it's actually pretty reasonable as to why any man would want to play a video game over attempting to court a woman anywhere. And so I'm going to take those several minutes to explain why. Now, I want to say this. The person who made the video, whose name is Economic Invincibility, I think it is, had a pretty interesting take on it. He ended up getting made fun of by the Amazing Atheist for whatever reason. But I'm going to link all the videos like down below so you guys can check all that out. But I just kind of want to go over this and like really talk about it in depth, or as much depth as I can, because I find it hilarious that someone need to ask and have this be explained to them. So I'm going to explain it with lots of details and lots of examples. So if you are a young lady and you're really wondering like, why would a man like prefer to play video games over like going out and trying to meet with women and talk to them? I have to first preface by saying I'm not really even entirely sure what exactly the scope of this problem is, or if it even is a problem. I do want to work off with, I'm not entirely sure if this is even like a huge social issue or like a huge problem that some women are dealing with or like some men are noticing or something like that. Working on the assumption that it probably really isn't that serious, which is what I'm working on, I do still think that it is interesting to talk about with the assumption that it is actually a social issue and it is actually a problem. So to explain why a man would rather play video games than talk to women, it actually all comes down to the most simplest and basic concept ever, and that is, well, playing video games is fun and trying to court women is not fun. The end. That's it. It's really that simple. So that being said, man, I just hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, man, go ahead and click the like button. Okay, I did say that I was going to add lots of details. So here's the part of the video where I add a whole bunch of details. I want you guys to really stop and like think critically about like what courtshipping is in our contemporary society. A lot of people don't think about it. But we're going to spend this video thinking about how much of an arduous task it is if you're not an incredibly good-looking person. And if you're an incredibly good-looking woman, then, you know, on the flip side of men, don't worry, I'm just going to explain everything, okay? No matter how you slice it, man, like, playing video games, by its nature, is designed to be a fun activity. Even if it's as simple as like playing Pong on your cell phone, if you even could, or even Flappy Bird, or anything like that, anything of that nature. Games are designed to be a fun experience. That's what they're made to do. So if a man would rather play a video game over talking to a bunch of women, just in its nature, you would come to the logical conclusion that he finds it much more useful bit of his time because it's fun to do so, rather than the task of trying to go out and meet a woman. Now, think about this for a second. When you get out of high school and college, there aren't very many places where it's like socially acceptable to go out and like talk to random women. And you very seldom, especially if you're like a younger man, are going to find like a random single woman kind of like out at Walmart or doing something. Like I go to Walmart all the time, and most of the women I see there are married for one thing, and like in their like early to late 30s another thing. So I'm not finding like single women who are just, you know, picking up milk or something like that in any store that I go to. Most of the women you find are usually paired off anywhere. At least that's how it was in college. So there aren't very many locations of which you could find a single woman that is probably looking for a man to go up and talk to her in the first place. Now, you then have like dating in nightclubs, and we'll get to them in a second. But I want you to really take into perspective that literally just like finding a woman to talk to just in its nature that's around your age and is also single, at least for me, has oftentimes always been just, you know, kind of a matter of circumstance. It's not really something I can control or something I can do. It just kind of happens. And since it very seldom happens, I mean, What wasn't they supposed to do? And they supposed to imagine a woman to go talk to and just go out and walk down the street or something? I was just supposed to walk down the street and hope I find someone my age I can begin a conversation with? Yeah, no. Just the pure logistics of just finding a woman in its nature is just something that is pure happenstance. Like, I mean, maybe I might go check the mail and find a woman who just so happens to be my age also checking the mail. But that shit's probably not going to happen because as far as my experience, it's never happened. So, yeah. So considering that the pure logistics is against you, I mean, there's then nightclubs, right? Now, nightclubs are usually an environment that are like crafted for single people to come meet and get drunk and like dance and talk to each other. It's the same thing with bars. You're supposed to get drunk and like talk to people. Interesting thing about all of that is, at least in the nightclub that I've been to a couple of times, I very seldom actually see very many like single women there. Like I see a lot of times like couples go to nightclubs. And just in its nature, it's not really possible to spit game to a woman that's already in a relationship if your goal is to get into a relationship with her. Just and the offs, it's just, do I really need to have to explain that? I mean, unless you're like Trey Songz and Mr. Steal Your Girl type nigga, that's that. It's game over, man. There's nothing you can do about that. But then there's also like the added bonus of like when some girls go out, they usually go out like in pairs. You don't really find very many women that are like by themselves out in nightclubs. And that's totally reasonable as to why, or at least they think it's reasonable because like they don't want to get like, you know, drugged and raped. So like they want a safety net. Like I get that. I'm not, it's neither wrong nor right. Like I understand it. But I mean, you have to understand that you very seldom are going to be able to find like single women that you can like talk to and like have a conversation with. Like if you see a group of women, you have to break that shit up. And if you're just a man by yourself, you can't really do that. So you need a wingman. So the pure like necessities that is like, you know, having that conversation without it being awkward or being strange is to have one of your friends already be there who's also single. You would hope to be able to wingman you and help you. So you like have a group conversation and talk to the girl. Like again, now I want you guys to take like into consideration, this is literally just like finding a woman and then talking to her. Like we haven't even gotten to like the actual mate selection that is courtship. As in, like assuming you do all of this stuff, which is like a lot has to go into it just to create the scenario in which you could find a woman to talk to in a nightclub that's drunk. You also have to take into consideration that the woman is still a person. You know what I mean? Like, I still have to like talk to her and appeal to her and like try to get her to like me back. And what you have to understand with a lot of women, thanks to the 80-20 rule I just did a video about if you haven't seen it, most women, they're not going to find the vast majority of men attractive. So literally, you go through all this stuff to find a woman in a nightclub because you very seldom can find a woman anywhere else that's single. And maybe she might not even be single, which really begs the question why the fuck she's there if she's not single, but I digress. You go through all of this to find a single woman to talk to, and then you have to actually talk to the woman, which, I mean, is a difficulty in itself if you're a shy, awkward person. You go through all of that, and then you get rejected. And it's like, all right, well, now I gotta do it again. And now I gotta do it again. And now I gotta do it again. And now I have to do it again until finally I meet a woman that will actually talk to me. Now let's compare and contrast that to literally the other day, I decided I was just gonna replay Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Neocortex, right? The reason why was because it's a video game. I never actually owned the video game as a child. I played the video game at one of my friends' friend's birthday party, and I got to like the second section, and I got to the boss fight, and I never got to finish that boss fight because I had to go home. And I just, for years, I never owned a PS2, so for years I've never been able to complete that section of the game. So I got an emulator, and then I got Crash Bandicoot, and I started playing it. And interestingly enough, my friends, funny thing happened while I was playing this video game. I noticed I was having fun. I was sitting here in my room, laughing at myself as I failed miserably to complete the task of this game because I'm playing with a keyboard, I don't have a controller, and I was having fun. Even though I was constantly failing, I was constantly dying, parts of me were somewhat annoyed, it was a fun experience no matter what. And even though I'll never be able to, you know, have the nostalgia of playing Crash Bandicoot on a PS2 again, like by having my own PS2, well, I could buy one, but I don't want to. I was having fun, nigga. That's the point. The point is I was having fun. And honestly, in comparison to going out and finding women to talk to, like, in the off chance I can actually find a woman to talk to when I go out to said nightclubs, sitting in my house playing Crash Bandicoot was a much more pleasurable experience. I'm sorry, it just was. Because then, here's the thing. Let's say you find a woman to talk to at a nightclub. The chances are, more often than not, she's probably drunk. And if you've ever held a conversation with a drunk woman, you realize it is quite the miserable experience. Because you can't really have a conversation with a drunk woman. It's just not a thing that can happen. I mean, you can try. You guys can probably get like some semblance of small talk going on, but you're not really gonna have an interesting conversation with a drunk chick that you're trying to have sex with or trying to form like a meaningful relationship with. It's not gonna happen. In fact, I don't think anyone should actually go to a nightclub if they're trying to forge like a meaningful relationship with anyone. But the problem is, again, when you're out of high school and college, you're not really going to be ever in an environment in which you could be close to women your own age, of which you could like reasonably want to have relationships with. So, I mean, just the pure logistics of it all is against you, for one, if you've made it this far in life and you haven't been paired off. I mean, unless you go to like a friend's party, I mean, you would then have to have friends first. So I think there's just a lot to it. Video games, on the other hand, are easily accessible. When you buy a video game, you get what you want out of it. Usually. I mean, there are some bad video games or some misleading video games, but for the most part, you know, if you buy a video game, you get what you ask for. If I want to play God of War, nigga, I'm gonna get an RPG with Kratos in it, and I'm just gonna play it. It's that simple. If I want to play Overwatch, well, it costs what, $30 half the time. Like Blizzard literally will like give Overwatch away because they just want so many people to play it. I buy it for $30. I get to play as much as I want, when I want. I don't have to leave my house. I don't have to waste any more money apart from that moment. And I'm having fun. But when you go out and try to court women, I've never done this shit, and I never will do it. But there are some guys that will like pay for drinks for women. Now, I will be damned if I ever spend any money on a woman I don't know with the chance I'm holding a conversation with her. No, nigga, not today, not tomorrow, not next week, not a decade from now. A nigga is never going to ever go out to a bar, say, hey, give that random woman I don't know something to drink just so she might appreciate me and might have a conversation with me. Do you know how many niggas this happens to? Where he will buy a drink for a girl, talk to her for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. She gets to drink, and then she's like, oh wait, my friend's over there. I gotta go back to them. Bye. No, nigga. No. Just no, I'm not doing that. Could you imagine, and this is something that men do, by the way. Can you imagine, like, spending all of this money and time just for the chance, just to try to convince this woman to spend some more time with you personally so you can spit game and talk to her? Nigga. And then here's the worst part of it all. This is like another thing that you have to take into consideration when it comes to courting women. Is not only is it just a lot that goes into it, but you have to take into consideration that it's not fun. Like talking to some women, they're boring people to talk to. They're just not interesting. And it's entirely possible that a part of that comes from the fact that they're just not interested in you. So you always have to talk to a stranger with a gamble. You're always gambling with the person. There's always a chance. Maybe they might like you. The chance that they don't like you is a hell of a lot more than the chance that they do like you, just because most women like a very particular type of men. They want upper echelon type men, or a very particular type of men that you probably won't be. But here's the thing, nigga. If I want to play a video game, I just need a PC, which I probably have. I just need a console, which I can get. I get it, it's guaranteed. I can get any game I want. I can replay the game for more value. It's just, from a purely logistical, logical standpoint, I get what I want when I play a video game, and it's fun. I don't have to go anywhere. I enjoy playing it. And that's it. I'm not bothering anyone. I don't have to risk myself. It's a fun experience. It's just that simple. But when it comes to actually trying to court women, there's a lot that goes into it. And there's the rejection that goes into it. There's the I have a boyfriend bullshit that goes into it. There's the getting or finding a location in which you would talk to a woman bullshit that goes into it. There's a lot that goes into it. And honestly, if you're a man and you don't want to be bothered with that, I personally can't blame you. Now, I'm not of the mindset, I don't want anyone to watch this video and be of the mindset that I really do think that men should prefer to play video games over trying to find a woman to talk to. I'm not saying that. I'm not really supporting that that's something that should happen. And honestly, if you remember when I prefaced the video, I don't really even think that this is a gigantic problem that is even occurring to begin with. I could be wrong here, but I really don't think it is. But honestly, being someone that has tried to court women like for a long time and failing a lot, and being someone that like understands how not fun it is to talk to drunk women, and being someone that understands that you're gonna get rejected a lot before you get success, excuse me, I can understand why men in general would prefer to sit down and play a video game that they are probably 90% of the chance, probably more like 99% of the chance, gonna have a lot more of a fun time doing that than attempting to go hold a conversation with a woman that's probably not actually interested in them to begin with. Because if you are just an average okay looking guy, you're gonna have to try a lot to talk to women, and there's just a lot to it. There's a lot to talking to women, that and honestly, I can understand why someone would not want to be bothered doing that. It's totally reasonable to not want to be bothered with trying to court women because it's difficult for no reason. It's an absurdly difficult thing. I mean, like, the actual process of doing it is actually not hard, but like getting the results you want is hard. Like holding a conversation, like talking to people is not really, well, for some people it is difficult. And then you have to add that, like, for some people, like, the literal act of going out and talking to strangers is a hard thing to do. Not really for me, but like I can understand that. Like, I really get that. Like and I understand, like, some people would like refer to these individuals who prefer to do this as losers. Which, I mean, I get that. Like, you think that someone who would rather spend their time by themselves or, like, with their couple of friends or playing video games is a loser. You know, they're not really going out and getting some poon. But, honestly, I have to... Let's be real. Like, even if you're the super alpha male of all alpha males, do you honestly find going out and talking to drunk women to be a fun experience? Do you honestly find, like, getting drunk and having sex with women you don't really know, and, like, getting blackout drunk to a point where you probably don't even remember having sex with them to begin with, fun? Because if you do find that fun, I mean, more power to you. But most people don't, or at least niggas that would prefer to play video games do not find that fun. And I cannot blame them. So in conclusion, if this is a problem, if there are men who are preferring to rather play video games than going out and trying to court women, the answer is simple as to why they would prefer that. Because playing video games is fun, and trying to talk to women and court them is not. So that being said, man, I certainly hope you guys enjoyed today's video. And if you did, man, go and click the like button. Shoot, go and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below. As always, you guys have yourselves a great day. I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.